Are you high?
I
What are
am
you
high.
talking about?
No, it doesn't go like that. It goes like this.
The Full Melt Show is intended for a mature audience. It contains adult themes, adult content, and sometimes adult language. Listener discretion is advised.
It's the Full Melt Show.
Hello, my name is Stacy Berger, and I'm from Genesee County. I work at Hardcore Harvest in Montrose, which was rated last month by Genesee County Fame. I believe ours was a simple case of vengeance. Our boss, his lovely neighbor, is the lieutenant of Fang, Mr. Jerry Fowler. So I believe that he was behind it 100% just because he is jealous of Mike. But I think a lot of people are affected by it. You know, me, I just worked there. I'm a single mom. I did the job to support my kids, give patients their medicine. And I believe the raids need to stop. It's just no crime, no victim. So stop the raids.
Yes. So Stacy was raided in Montrose, is that right, where that happened? Yes. And that was by Fang, Flint Area Narcotics Group. Those are the same folks that went to Bedford Township saying, give us money, give us more money. So something that, Representative Irwin urged you all to go meet with your representatives today before you leave. I hope those of you that have the time and the ability will do that. But you really want to go talk to your county prosecutor, okay? You want to go talk to your county commissioners if you can, and tell them to start taking a very serious look at what the Drug Task Force brings to your community. Because they're not going to bring public health and safety. They're going to decrease public safety by creating danger where none previously existed, by putting guns in children's faces, by knocking out your dog's eye, and they might steal your sex toys. So you might want to go tell them that. And if you don't feel like doing it, give me a call. I will. Said that was good until the last part. I disagree. We fight a lot. Where's that next? There was someone else. Maybe there's nobody left. Come here, Steve Green.
Right here.
Yes, here comes rape victims, SWAT survivors. Come on up. This is Steve Green.
Don't confuse me with the other Steve Green on Facebook. Happens all the time. So listen, I just wanted to give you a couple of words before this thing closed up. The first idea is that, police have been very liberal with this raiding situation because we've allowed them to be. I mean, sometimes we come to these protests and, people hear us, they understand what's going on, but the fight hasn't stopped and it's not going to. The police came to my door. I was sitting in my living room watching television. Boom, 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 boom. What the hell is that? Go to the door, it's the police. But it's not just a cop or two cops. It's 18 of them. The whole street is lined with flashing police lights. And raid cars, the big giant box cars like they're going to pull people out of my building. I'm just in a 70 by 14-foot mobile home. I don't know what they're expecting. But I sent the police away that day because they didn't have a warrant. And they came to my door and said, look, I want to come inside and talk to you. I'm like, really? We're talking right now? You don't need to come in. That's what's great about the doorway. We can have the conversation. And so I said, do you have a warrant? And they're like, no. I said, well, it seems that I'm on private property and I have civil rights and part of them are privacy. And so unless you have a warrant, I could just easily send you away. And they said, well, we can do this the easy way or we can do this the hard way. I'm like, well, the hard way, what's the hard way? Well, we could go get a warrant. Well, let's just be honest about this, officer. If you had reason to get a warrant, you'd have one at the door. You wouldn't have just knocked on my door talking to me now. You'd have busted the damn door down. Yeah! So let's just, I'll tell you what. Come on inside. Always, come on. It's cold out there. It's like 20 degrees below zero. If you want to call me a criminal, you better have an opportunity to do it right now, because I'm just going to go ahead. Now, I'm not advising that you do this. But come on in, make moles of yourselves. Now remember, you guys are, I know you're in raid uniforms and you got the masks and the hats and the guns and all the stuff. I know that you guys are used to conducting raids, but let's just be clear what's going on right now here is not a raid. You're here at my invite. I let you in. Make your guests of my home act like it. You're not dumping my cereal onto the floor. You're not throwing like clothes all around the building. You're not destroying anything. You're not shooting pets. Watch out for the attack cat. And the cat did jump up on the cop shoulder. He's like, ah! But so, I eventually, I'm not going to, because it's a long story, I'll save you that story. It's amusing, though. But it's not amusing when they're coming to your door under threat of arrest and prosecution and jail and stealing your stuff. They came back 30 days later after I sent them away that day with their tail between their legs, knocking on my door with 3 police officers, trying to take my caregiver status because I pissed off the sheriff because I called a news conference and started a goddamn radio show. Now, right now, I got woken up by a newspaper reporter yesterday morning who told me that my township was passing a law, an ordinance that they're about to publish in the paper as a part of making that ordinance official that says you can't grow marijuana if you're a caregiver and don't have a special zoning now. They're trying to separate this. If you're a patient, you can grow your marijuana where it's at. You can grow your cannabis as a patient if you're just going to grow 12 plants. But if you're going to grow more than 12 plants because you're assisting somebody else who's in your same situation or a similar situation as a chronically ill person, you can't do it there anymore. You're going to have to move to another location that's an acre and zoning property that's supposed to be, residential agriculture. I got to live on a freaking farm. So this is going on across the state. They're doing this township by township, city by city. They're trying to do this very same thing. The Township Association is running this stuff around. And so I've contacted the people at my township. I got a copy of that ordinance. And we've had words before. But it's not going to happen anymore. I'm going to hold, in my township, it's Ryan Township, out by Milford. I'm going to, first off, I'm going to ask them to reconsider because nobody had a public hearing on this. So nobody was there because we didn't tell anyone. So let's have a public hearing about this and have input from the people. And then, if you're not willing to do that, then there's always the referendum. I'll get enough signatures in my community and force this to a vote and we'll screw your little ordinance. It's not going to stand because people are going to come and vote against it. And if I can't find satisfaction that way, I'll take you to court like I did the first time and we'll pass the same ordinance that the Supreme Court found in Wyoming was illegal. So this is what you got to do. You just got to stand up for yourself. You got to stand on your rights and assert them because if you don't, they'll be taken away. That's all I got to say. Thank you very much.
Are you high? What are you talking about?
This is the full melt.
Give me a break.
The Full Melt Show. A marijuana discussion about news, culture, politics, and lifestyle. FullMelt.com. Toll free. 844-420-TALK. 844-420-TALK.
Oh man, I'm going to just jump off a bridge. That was the worst audio ever that I think I've ever played on the front of the show. Just terrible. Ugh. But it had to be done. I mean, not the terrible audio. Oh, jeez. It's horrible. Put us a crackly microphone and get rid of the stupid microphone. One of these days we'll make enough dollars at this radio show that we'll get some equipment that doesn't want to clip out on you. What the hell is going on in there now? I've never seen it do that before. All right, hang on a second. Turn this down, turn this up. Maybe that's better. That's probably better. All right. Something's blowing out in there. A little clipping going on. A little red lighting happening. Terrible audio, just horrible. You know, somewhere in that feed there was another mic, and I was listening to it on the monitor, and it was so noisy there out in the crowd because, you know, they were standing there talking like that for an hour and a half, 2 hours. This is out in front of the Lansing Capitol building. The state capitol in Michigan. Today I was there protesting with Michigan Moms United, who held a press conference and a protest on the Capitol steps to stop the raids. Now, ever since marijuana has started to change and shift with legality, talking about medical marijuana and also now retail cannabis to adults, Responsible adult cannabis use, that's what we're talking about here. Ever since that paradigm started to shift into a legal zone versus a prohibitionist zone, the police have been throwing a fit. And although California started this process 20 years ago now, 20 full years, they are still being raided for their medical growing in California. Now, I'm not suggesting that California has the tightest regulations on medical marijuana. They clearly do not. In fact, I would say they have some of the loosest regulations on marijuana across the country. However, that being said, the raids haven't stopped. Now, if you're going after just regular people who are acting in a criminal way and violating drug law, and the drug law hasn't changed, I would agree with you on this. Change the law. I mean, it's better than suffering the consequence, right? But it's not just normal consequence, it's amped up, ramped up hatred consequence. And the hatred and the ramp up and all the consequence in the first place was really only about a grab for money and a control of people, nothing more. This is nothing more than a long arm of the IRS. It's not a long arm of the law. It's a long arm of government suction from your pocketbook. That's what that is. Let's make no mistake about it. Because the evidence mounts up to exactly that. See, I'm an evidence-based person. I don't go on whim and hearsay and, what the latest locker room tale is. I don't. I act based on what I see, can sniff, smell, examine, kick around, and decide for myself what it is. And that's the litmus test that any reasonable person would want to know. If you come across something and it looks like it might be dangerous, you might approach it with caution and distance and some kind of barrier between you and it if you have to interact with it in case it is dangerous. But the moment you find out it's not, you move forward and proceed because you discovered it's not dangerous. It's just a piece of trash. You had to kick it around. You had to touch it, feel it, make sure that it was or was not what you thought it might or might not have been. And that's how I deal with the reality of the day. That's what I've learned to do as a journalist, as a newsman. First, go check it out for yourself. If it's not something you can check out for yourself, ask somebody else who did. And then when they tell you their story, you go get it again from somebody else who doesn't know that person. And let them tell you the story from their point of view. And you go do that a third time and get that story told a third time by another independent person. Now I can call it news. Because 3 independent people verified the same story. Otherwise, if one of the 2 stories wasn't right, I'd just have to sit and investigate more. Like if one of the 3 stories didn't match, well, then I'd have to pick it apart and find out, is this perception? What is this? Is this angle? Is this point of view? Is this a liar? Is this somebody trying to just grab camera time for themselves? What is this? It's part of what you do as a reporter. You pick it apart and find, and you separate the truth from the non-reality. And you tell people the truth. Now, sometimes you can't give them all of the truth. It's too much. So you select out the parts that matter and you present it in the news. Now, these raids are increasing. Now, why are they increasing, you might ask? Well, I can pose a plausible answer. I think the raids are increasing, and this is an educated guess more than anything. But the educated part of the guess is knowing the law across the land, which states are doing this, and having a finger on the pulse of what's going on and where with regards to this paradigm shift in cannabis policy. And in doing so, it's clear to me that the increase in raids, especially now here in Michigan, because we're ever closer to the line of shifting, not only trying to do something about the medical marijuana battle, and we have been fighting that as a war now since 2008 in this state, where again, police and prosecutors and judges and officials from the government, despite the 66% of the population that voted for the Michigan Medical Marijuana Act intending for these patients to have a shield from law enforcement, a shield from criminal prosecution, instead tried to use that that law, and have effectively done so, as a sword. Stabbing in their steely sword into the hearts of a sick elderly patient. One with a wheelchair, one with a cane, some elderly person that lives by themselves, somebody who has cancer, somebody who has HIV/AIDS, people with chronic gastric problems, people with multiple sclerosis and ALS. Why would you torture these people? Were it not for your ideal that marijuana must remain illegal because it is the low-hanging fruit from which officers fund their departments. It's the low-hanging fruit by which officers conduct investigation. It's an open door into what else is in your car. I smell weed. Officers don't like the idea. I'm talking about all law enforcement officers. And prosecutors as well. They don't like the idea that there's a medical excuse for marijuana. You want to call it an excuse, you call it what you want. It is a legal protection in this state and many others. But the disingenuous malfeasance of justice by law enforcement officials and prosecutors across this great state will no longer be tolerated. Do you hear me? The citizens of this state are done with your muckraking, your demagoguery, the lie-telling, the stealing, the outright thugs with badges. I mean, that's what it is. And it's going to stop. It stops here. It stops now. Tell you, yesterday I told you that they're changing the law here in the township that I live. They're passed an ordinance that I got woken up by a reporter about, asking my opinion. We're going to talk about that a little bit more after the break, and more cannabis news coming up.
You're getting the full melt.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
What's up with these things, Victor?
We decided to give ourselves stickers for each feature we release.
We read about 10,000 suggestions a week to create features that, as traders, we'd want to use.
10,000 suggestions? Who reads all of those?
He does.
For all the confidence you need, TD Ameritrade. You got this.
We need coffee.
Got it right here.
Cups.
12 ounce, 8 ounce recyclable.
Creamers, sweeteners, stirrers, filters.
Creamers, sweeteners, stirrers, filters, K-Cups.
Hazelnut, French vanilla, French roast, dark, light, medium, bold, extra bold.
And decaf.
Why would you say that? Why would you say that? Why would you say that?
No reason.
Free shipping for awards members every day. Staples. Make more happen.
It's the Full Melt Radio Show.
Thomas says, stay home, get away from me, saying I was right for you. He got his way. I'm gone for good.
You hear the Full Melt Show Monday through Friday from 7 until 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Look, I'm just a guy with a microphone.
I'm still sober.
And a lot of news. We hope that you'll join our program. If you don't have a chance to listen to the live version, you can get a version in your iTunes folder every day just by finding the link at thefullmelt.com. Right there at the top of the page, click and subscribe, and then you'll never miss a show. I hope that you would like us enough that you wouldn't want to miss a show. Today, that big protest, that Moms United protest, took up most of the day. Already did a couple hours of broadcasting down there. But what a crappy audio. Look, I was not happy with the sound mixer down there. Those guys were just not very good, and they had equipment that was, for lack of a better term, lackluster. There was an open mic somewhere, and I couldn't figure out what it was. I was listening to that, monitoring it, and I was hearing it, and I'm like, damn, where's that coming from? So I had a second mic there in case I needed to fill and say, hey, we're listening to the protest. There's a pause right now. They're waiting for some lady with a wheelchair to get up the staircase. I don't know, whatever. But I had another mic there, and I know it wasn't coming from that place because I had unplugged it so that it couldn't make any sound, just in case. But somewhere there was an open mic, and there were some people in the audience talking that mic was picking up, and it was that was problematic. It could have been something as simple as the phone, because I was using a phone to do that broadcasting with, and I haven't actually used the equipment that I hooked to the phone to plug the microphones in. It may have been that. Could have been something with that. Next time I do a broadcast like that, I'm going to have to hit the mute button on the microphone on the phone to see if that maybe was the source of contamination. A lot of people out there, could have been a lot more. I know there were some news organizations that were covering that protest. Fox 17 covered it. I wonder what they said, if they said anything. I'm just going to look real quick and see if there's any reference. Fox 17. Maybe I'll play the news piece. Just typing it in here sometimes takes a minute longer to type than anticipated. Here we go. Fox 17, activists worry proposed law change to keep pot legalization off the ballot, 3 hours ago. Regulations on medical marijuana could generate up to 36. Okay, so this has got to be, this is the story that Fox 17 did. I wonder if there is a video piece that accompanies it. There is. So let me just play it for you. This is Fox 17. Oh, hang on. Wrong one. Hold on. Hold up. First off, there's a commercial that's going to play. And second off, I've still got this other application playing content from the Stop the Raids thing. Okay, here we go. So let's just see.
Simple and
there's a stupid commercial.
What we want.
I mean, not stupid commercial, but not all of them. This is for Charter Spectrum. It's not even available here. I don't know if Charter Spectrum's available where you're at, but check it out. Here's the Fox 17 news piece.
Activists hoping to give voters the final say on whether marijuana should be legalized in Michigan say their hopes of getting it on the November ballots are fading fast.
In Lansing, lawmakers are moving forward on making changes to how ballot signatures are collected. Fox 17 political reporter Josh Sidorowitz is at the Capitol to explain why and what other issues it might keep off the ballot.
Collecting enough signatures to get an issue on the ballot. That is what we've heard from pro-marijuana activists. And they don't necessarily argue that's a bad thing. What they do argue is the effort underway right now by some lawmakers to make it more difficult.
It's a total misalignment of priorities. It's just terrible. You know, DPS, Flint,
and you're dealing with taking away the citizen's right to petition.
Jeff Hank is the Lansing attorney who's been leading the charge for more than a year for MI Legalized, the only remaining serious attempt to get pot legalization on the November ballot. And the group, like any other trying to get something before voters, needs more than 250,000 valid signatures collected within a 6-month window to do it. As the law stands right now, there's leeway for that window so long as a petitioner can prove those signatures collected outside of it are actually legit. But that loophole is gone if the law changes. You've got 6 months, the rules are the rules, to get those signatures in. Why would that be so difficult for a group like you that seems well organized to make that time frame?
People don't understand the burden, what it actually takes to go out and get hundreds of thousands of your neighbors to sign petitions.
The bill is not expected to have much trouble getting to the governor's desk. It's already passed the Senate, and Hank maintains it should not even apply retroactively to an ongoing petition drive. He says if it does, he's ready for a legal battle.
This is bigger than cannabis legalization or fixing the roads or funding the schools. This is about every Michigan citizen's right as an American to have a say.
Now, we did reach out to the senator behind this bill, Dave Robertson, who also happens to be the chair of the Senate Elections Committee. Despite repeated attempts, he did not make himself available to speak with us today. We're in Lansing. Josh Horowitz, Fox 17 News.
All right, so here's the problem that I have. Here's the issue that I have with all of that nonsense. In the first place, the angle that they swung on the entire protest, the raid. And I see how people get the point of view that mass media is not going to help you out. And you're right, they're not. Mass media is going to do what they think, or they're going to play what they think is going to get them ratings. That's how they make money. And remember, we are in capitalist America. We're here to make money, even when we tell the news. Now, the protest was about stop the raids. That was the protest. The message was, this ends here and now, and that we're going to take every measure available to us to make sure that this ends. We are organized. We do have people in the right places. They are applying pressure in the right places. They are responding to these things. Now, I told you when we went to the commercial break that I would come back and talk about my ordeal with my local township, because I think sometimes, well, I think it may be many times the only time that I can relate some of this news to you is to personalize it. Because in all that garbled audio up front there, I don't know if you could hear the story about the thing that happened at my home when I decided to be a caregiver and to help medical patients, including myself. But I was subjected to a criminal eye by the police department, and that wouldn't be so bad if it just wasn't so large and negative and presumptuous and illegal. I mean, those were the primary things that were wrong with those encounters. And it wasn't just one, it was at least two. And there were other encounters as well, arguments from a legal standpoint between attorneys filing civil suits, and also the township and the sheriff's department, the place that the organization that runs the housing association that I live in. And so we'd had our runarounds before. We're apparently going to have some more runarounds. Now, I could have taken this a terribly negative way, and I don't think that would have helped my cause and the cause of cannabis in general. I've always been a very positive person. I'm not a person that is an angry person. I'm not a person that is, well, I guess I am. You can make me angry. Especially, I feel more angry when I've got no control over a situation. I suppose I'm not angry about this situation because at least I feel like I've got some control over it. But nonetheless, I moved to where I moved to so that I could grow cannabis and I could be a patient and a caregiver and supply myself and some other people that needed it desperately. That didn't have an answer for this question because they couldn't do it themselves. But the first thing the police want to do is say, oh, no, you're somehow a criminal. First, we don't believe all this medical crap. Somehow you're just a downright, you're a dope pusher is what you are. No, I'm not. I never have been. And anybody that knows me knows that that is the furthest classification for me that you could make. So when I got here, and then after I started growing, and after the township knew that I was growing here, and let's face it, I'm sure there were other people growing here maybe before I was. The problem is that either they were doing it illegally, because I started growing right after the law changed, or they started doing it just maybe a month or so before me, because it took me a little while to get the equipment and everything together, install air conditioning, all that crap. But they changed the law. They passed an ordinance that said you can't have medical marijuana anything in this township because it's federally illegal, and we're going to rely upon that. And then there was an argument. It went to court, and it went up the appeals chain all the way to the Supreme Court of Michigan, who said, no. You can't restrict state law at the township level. You don't have that ability. And now I've gone back and reminded them since then, look, I'm just reminding you again that I'm doing this with a purpose. I'm legitimate, not just some guy growing dope and selling it out the back door. It's not what's going on. And you know it's not what's going on, because I know you've been watching me. I know that you've been surveilling at times what's going on here. And I know that your surveillance records nothing because there's nothing going on. I don't even care that you're out there. Go ahead and watch away. Wasting your time. But, so you know, and I know that I'm not a bad guy here. I'm not. I am who I say I am. And yet you persist in trying to do these, knock raids, where they don't have a warrant. They've done this a couple of times. And we put a stop to that by settlement. They made an agreement with me not to do that anymore because I threatened to take their kids' their kids and their grandkids' college money. That's what I threatened to do. You're here illegally, and the protection of your badge against activity that you may conduct while you're wearing it and in the course of your duties ends when you're no longer doing things that are legal. The protection of that badge is gone. It's just like my medical marijuana card. It only protects me against my illegal activity of growing marijuana and using it and providing it to those who are registered to me through the state and the state's medical marijuana program. And you know that my count's right, and you know that my weight's right, and you know that I'm not nefariously leaking this into the black market. You know all these things. And now you changed the law again. See, before you said cannabis isn't illegal, and then cannabis is not allowed here. Even if you've got medical marijuana, you can't have it. I don't care if you're a patient or a caregiver. You're not welcome here. No marijuana business is allowed, and your marijuana growing can't happen within the township's borders. I said, no. I asked them to change it. They wouldn't, so I took them to court. And eventually, like I said, that very issue, made its way to the Supreme Court, and they said, you can't do that. And I went back and reminded them in that process, look, the court's already ruled this is illegal. You're going to find that this isn't going anywhere. I spoke at the township hall. And again, I was friendly about this. This is who I am. This is what I'm doing, and I intend to engage you in a positive way on this subject. So don't pretend like everybody's going to look the other way while you do what you want about marijuana policy and ordinance in this township, because I'm going to come and fight you every step of the way the moment you try and yank back my rights under the law. People have spoken. They gave me the ability. Stop trying to take that ability away, and they're doing it again. They can cite no need, any reason to restrict caregivers, especially ones that already exist here. They can cite nothing about that as an issue. In fact, in talking to one of the people involved at the township level who is in the know on this and has some control, I think it was a code enforcement officer. And so I told him, I said, look, I'm concerned about this. I don't want to be a criminal in your township. I don't want to violate your ordinance. But clearly you've written an ordinance that I'm in violation of if you intend to target me with it. And I don't like the fact that you've got your stupid ordinance there anyways. I don't want some code officer coming to my door and banging on my door about marijuana. I don't. you've got no business coming here about that. And you're not going to create business coming here about it because you created an ordinance. I'm going to fight you. If necessary, at first, I would like to talk to you about this. See if I can get you to modify your position. You've already passed an ordinance that's already going to go into effect. Can we have some public hearing on this and then change that ordinance, alter it? And honestly, I'm just going to tell you up front, I essentially want to gut it. I want to gut it completely. The big thing in there is that caregivers have to be in special zoning. And I don't think I'm in that zoning. I don't think I fit the criteria of that zoning. And I am a caregiver, and I don't intend to stop. And I don't intend to move. So that being the case, this code officer said, look, I said, do I have a problem now with the township because you passed this ordinance? Do I need to be worried? Are you going to target me with this? Do I have any protection over this? Am I grandfathered in because I was already doing this and then you passed an ordinance? That's what grandfathering does. It says, hey, everybody who's already doing this don't worry about this because this doesn't affect you unless you stop and try to start again. Then you'd be affected by the ordinance. But as long as you do this and keep doing it, you get to do it, despite the ordinance. And so he said yes, that if you're already doing it, and now we passed this ordinance, you can keep doing it. And I don't think we have any issue. We don't have any issue with you. Well, that's fine, but you're still making an attempt to further restrict marijuana law in the township. And I appreciate that you don't have an issue with me, even though that's what I'm doing is beyond your restriction. It's technically breaking that rule, and I don't think you should have the rule. In fact, I don't think you should have any control of this issue at all. I understand you want to sculpt the community so it fits and serves the citizens best it can and be the most friendly to families and business. I understand all that. And I'm not in disagreement with you. I don't oppose you. I'm on your side. But there has to be reasonable discussion for admittance of this issue. We got to come to terms. And so I'm going to first try and get them, and we're going to schedule some stuff. Now I'm going to have some meeting with the township supervisor, maybe somebody from the township hall. Go to a couple of meetings, 28th, and again on the 4th, a planning commission, and then the board meeting, and I'm going to speak. We'll see what kind of modification we get. If we can't get modification there, we'll hold a referendum and put it on the ballot. We don't get service there, then I'll just downright sue you again and go back up against the Supreme Court.
You're getting the full melt.
I've seen things no man should bear, and those that every man should dare. From the beaches of Normandy to the far reaches of the earth. In my life, I have lived millions of lives. I've outrun robots and danced with dinosaurs. I've faced the faces of fear and fortitude and witnessed great beauty in the making. I've kept the company of kings and queens, but I'm no royalty or saint. I've traveled, trekked, wandered, and roamed, only to find myself right where I belong.
Jeep. See your authorized Jeep retailer for details on how you can become a Jeep owner.
We asked people to tell us something that happened in their past and something that might happen in their future. The good things were put on yellow magnets and the bad ones on blue. The results show the past was a pretty even mix of good and bad, yet the future was almost all good things. Now that you've seen the results of this experiment, what does it mean to you?
We all want to think about positive stuff.
Realistically, there will be downtimes.
It's great to think optimistically, but let's plan for whatever the future might bring.
Prudential, bring your challenges.
RootMetrics, in the nation's largest independent study, tested wireless performance across the country. Verizon won big with 153 state wins. AT&T got 38, Sprint got 2, and T-Mobile got 0. Verizon also won first in the U.S. for data, call speed, and reliability. AT&T got text. Stuck on an average network? Join Verizon, and we'll cover your cost to switch.
Introducing Sacred Elements, a place for natural and alternative healing for the mind, body, and soul. Sacred Elements. It's one place, all solutions.
Registered, licensed, certified, ordained.
Sacred Elements.
Massage, hypnosis, Hypnosis. Reiki.
Sacred elements.
Raindrop. Aroma and color therapy. Body detox. Ministry. Life coaching. Weight and nutrition counseling.
Sacred elements. Next to the Sweet Leaf, 400 South Dordt Highway, Flint.
11 to 7 daily, closed Sunday.
Call 810-259-2570. Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience, bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dordt Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. It's the Full Melt Radio Show. All right, let's see if we can delve into some cannabis news here. I noticed at the top of the list this story out of High Times magazine. It's really not out of High Times magazine. It's a story about High Times magazine. And Sparks and Honey. Sparks and Honey, that's... Sparks and Honey, I like it. A team up to help reposition marijuana. This is according to adage.com. Adage.com. High Times and, this Sparks and Honey, they've been around for a little while. Cannabis-focused media company High Times is collaborating with Omnicom Group agency Sparks and Honey to help the evolving story of marijuana to brands, consumers, and the advertising industry. Get this. The project is a partnership, not a paid client agency collaboration, according to a representative for Sparks and Honey. The first results of the effort include the release of a report dubbed Rebranding Marijuana, which looks into trends around the cannabis market, its consumers, its products, and ways in which brands can tap in. The report is slated for release on April 20th. Funny enough, that's 420. The unofficial marijuana holiday, with teaser info distributed at the 2016 U.S. Cannabis Cup and Carnival in San Bernardino, California, April 15th through the 17th. High Times Chief Operating Officer Larry, is it Linyetsky? I think it's Linyetsky. Said one of the main objectives of the report is to reposition the way consumers and the ad world look at cannabis. And this is important, especially as momentum for legalization continues to grow in the U.S. Sean Mahoney, who's the VP editorial director at Sparks and Honey, said the partnership brings together High Times' extensive knowledge of the cannabis community with the shop's expertise in creating cultural trend reports. The goal is to break the taboo around marijuana and get traditional brand marketers and advertisers more comfortable playing in this space, he said. According to recent predictions, the marijuana industry is expected to reach $36 billion by 2020, he said. Mr. Linyetsky said, consumers who are interested in cannabis are passionate, quote, passionate about it to a very high level, end quote, and are cause-based, male skewing, and have, quote, all of the elements of what brands hope to have appeal to millennials already, end quote. Since I quoted it, I'm going to say it again. He said consumers who are interested in cannabis are, quote, passionate about it to a very high level, end quote, and are cause-based, male skewing, and have, quote, all of the elements of what brands hope to have that appeal to millennials already, end quote. The report, he said, will help mainstream advertisers figure out how they can engage with cannabis consumers in an authentic way. You see what's going on here? It's the legitimizing of cannabis. I think it's what would have happened if they hadn't prohibited it. It would already have brand awareness. Somebody in the marketplace would have already come and dressed this puppy up. These influences go in both directions, said Mr. Mahoney. People in the space are moving out, and people outside are moving in. Sparks and Honey will share the report at events, and High Times will feature it in print, online, and across its social platforms. While there will be a little bit of paid advertising behind the report, Mr. Mahoney said they plan to focus on grassroots efforts and earned media. High Times readership and fan base across social media, which includes 940,000 Instagram followers, more than 5.3 million Facebook likes, and nearly 600,000 Twitter followers, will also play a major part in promoting the initiative. There are a lot of people who are incredibly interested in how this will affect them as a brand and how they position themselves now that marijuana really is becoming legal. So it's about how they leverage their brand in cannabis and become part of the story, said High Times Chief Revenue Officer Matt Stang. So really, that's what it is. And I kind of have to thank High Times for coming along in that place. Now, I didn't see the story in here, but I want to touch on it anyways. In fact, I think it's in my Facebook profile. And this really is, I don't know, it's alarming in one way. It's par for the course in another. But let's just delve into it a little bit. This is the FDA. The FDA recently making a broad announcement that they're outlawing CBDs and hemp oil extracts by claiming all plant molecules now belong to a classification that is in a drug trial. The story by Mike Adams is at theeventchronicle.com and goes as follows. Hemp oil extracts containing CBDs, cannabidiols, are such a threat to the pharmaceutical industry that the FDA is now invoking totally insane justifications for outlawing them. CBDs are non-psychoactive compounds. That means they don't get you high, found naturally in hemp plants. They work so well as powerful natural medicine that people everywhere are realizing CBDs work better than pharmaceuticals for treating epilepsy, seizures, neurological disorders, and other serious health conditions, including HIV infections. So the FDA has just launched a massive regulatory assault against CBDs by invoking the most insane logic you've ever heard. Here's how it goes. Number one, CBDs work so well that drug companies are now investigating them to be approved by the FDA as medicines. Number two, because CBDs are being investigated by drug companies, the FDA has granted CBDs status as being investigated as a new drug in the FDA's own language from their website. Quote, FDA considers a substance to be authorized for investigation as a new drug if it is the subject of an investigational new drug application that has gone into effect. Number three, because CBDs work so well and have been authorized for drug investigations, the FDA now outlaws them being sold as dietary supplements. Per the FDA's own website, quote, FDA has concluded that cannabidiol products are excluded from the dietary supplement definition under section blah, blah, blah of the FD&C Act. Under that provision, if a substance, such as cannabidiol, has been authorized for investigation as a new drug for which substantial clinical investigations have been instituted and for which the existence of such investigations has been made public, then products containing that substance are outside the definition of a dietary supplement. Number four, now the FDA has begun sending warning letters to CBD makers claiming they are in violation of FDA regulations because they are selling, quote, adulterated products, end quote. Adulterated with what exactly? CBDs, of course. That's what they're adulterated with. Quoting now, the debate over hemp CBD's legal status continues after FDA sent 8 warning letters to manufacturers of CBD dietary supplement and food products earlier this month, end quote, reports Nutritional Outlook. Quoting again, the warning letters cite impermissible health claims used to market the products, as well as CBD's invalid status as a dietary ingredient due to its presence in 2 drug applications currently under consideration, end quote. In other words, the FDA just handed Big Pharma an absolute monopoly over CBD's hemp oil extract by ridiculously claiming such natural products are, quote, adulterated, end quote, with molecules, CBDs, that the FDA said might one day become a drug. Drugs, according to the FDA, are substances that are proven to treat, prevent, or cure a disease, and thus the FDA's own logic admits that CBDs must be able to treat, prevent, or cure diseases, otherwise they would be useless as drugs. But when a dietary supplement company makes the same claim, they're hit with aggressive warning letters from the FDA, threatening to shut them down, confiscate their products, and seek criminal prosecution of the company executives. Do you see how this twisted, corrupt, legal, regulatory tactic can allow the FDA to instantly criminalize any dietary supplement, vitamin, herb, or plant extract? Vitamin D, for example, could be outlawed by the FDA, announcing that it has granted investigational new drug application status to any drug company studying vitamin D. Using this same corrupt, mafia-style tactic, the FDA could outlaw resveratrol or even vitamin C, denying Americans the right to access safe, affordable, natural substances that are routinely found in nature. It's time to end the FDA's monopolization over natural plant molecules. If humanity is ever to achieve medical freedom, we must end the FDA's outrageous medical monopolization of plant molecules like CBDs. By allowing this corrupt, criminally run regulatory agency to criminalize every molecule found in nature, our nation's lawmakers condemn us all to life in what can only be called medical totalitarianism under FDA tyranny. Anytime a healing substance is found in nature, the FDA can simply assert that such molecules are now in the process of being studied as drugs and are now therefore illegal to sell as dietary supplements, even though they were developed by Mother Nature herself, not drug companies. The FDA's tactic is nothing more than the FDA proclaiming intellectual molecules monopolies over these molecules of interest found in nature. It's Monsanto-like in its arrogance and its wickedness. It's depriving the people of their right to access medicinal plants and healing substances that have existed in nature for centuries, countless thousands of years before the FDA ever came into existence in 1906. And you can find more of this fascinating story at theeventchronicle.com. Because it's this kind of nonsense. Look, the FDA was created out of a need for safe, effective, non-snake oil remedies. That's what it was. That's where it was born from. There were too many people selling, the hair off a caterpillar and telling you that it was going to medicinally cure your baldness. Because it was not going to, and you got ripped off. It was charlatans doing this, and the FDA was coming along to solve this problem. But when the FDA claims jurisdiction over and rights to deny people these substances, even though they're found in nature as a part of your food, as a dietary source for human health, that is simply going too far.
You're getting the full melt.
Promotional consideration provided by NoSmell.com, pioneering the storage market for cannabis users. The NoSmell patented bag technology offers users 100% smell-proof detection from even the most sophisticated of noses. NoSmell.com, so nobody knows. When placing your order for a NoSmell bag, make sure to use discount code FULLMELT and take 10% off the entire order. Learn more about NoSmell technology at NoSmell.com.
Young students are our future. They're eager to learn, eager to succeed, eager to make the world a better place. And they want to make it to school safely. Share the road, take care when passing, and always leave 3 feet between you and people on bikes. Bikes are legal road vehicles. We're all drivers.
When you need legal help, you don't want to guess at who's standing next to you in court. And when it comes to a medical marijuana defense, it's even smarter to partner with a lawyer before you need one. Based in Royal Oak, David Rudoy has a proven history of not being afraid to take your case all the way to the Supreme Court and win. Find the law offices of Rudoy Law
at RudoyLaw.com.
RudoyLaw.com is a quick reference on your rights concerning Michigan medical marijuana
and up-to-date news.
That's RUDOI Law.com. Call 248-935-9074 now and talk about your legal needs, because at RudoyLaw.com, we don't just stand up for you, we stand up with you.
If you're like us, your pets aren't just animals. They're members of your family. Pet Pain CBD hemp oil drops are great for aging as well as active dogs and cats. Some people are apprehensive about hemp treatments for pets. They ask us, what are you smoking? Absolutely nothing, and neither will your pet. Like other hemp-based products for humans, the allure is all of the benefits of cannabis without any of the high. The CBD oil has shown to rejuvenate the bones, joints, brain, stomach, eyes, and heart. And the drops contain absolutely no corn, wheat, soy, artificial colors and flavors, or preservatives. Pick some up today. Visit petpain.com or ask for Pet Pain at your local pet store. Petpain.com. CBD relief for your pet.
Hey, it's Steve Green for the Sweet Leaf in Flint, because now getting safe access to medical cannabis patients in Flint, Michigan is never more welcoming. Presenting the Sweet Leaf, a brand new patient experience bringing 12 carefully selected caregivers housed in 9 separate offices to distinctly assist you with their knowledge and reputation for excellent patient care. Classes and training coming soon in the large community room. Check it out in person, 400 South Dorr Highway, or call 810-259-2571. The Sweet Leaf Center in Flint, 810-259-2571. 571. It's the Full Melt Radio Show. So glad you had a chance to make it with us today here on this program. Just a minute to think about Barb Brisson, who passed away from cancer recently.
I believe the way they set you free. So I'm only looking for a little peace.
Be free, Barb. This is what we fight for, to stop this kind of nonsense. There's no reason people like Barb should pass away from cancer. There's an answer. There's a cure. It's natural. And it's not going to kill you. It's not going to poison you along the way. Dateline, Punta del Este, Uruguay. March 21st. Was that yesterday? Yes, it is. In December of 2013, Uruguay offered itself the world's leading laboratory for marijuana policy. That month, the Latin American nation of some 3.5 million people became the first country to legalize and regulate the cultivation, sale, and consumption of the drug, turning itself into an outlier region where failed prohibition policies had been the norm. Marijuana legalization advocates from around the world eagerly waited to see how the case study would play out. More than 2 years later, they're still waiting. It's because the government has yet to implement a plan for mainstream cannabis commercialization, arguing the task is too complicated to be rushed. Now, what was heralded as the world's first controlled experiment of a bustling national legal weed economy is instead stuck in limbo. Rather than serving as a model for other countries contemplating cannabis legalization, Uruguay has become a cautionary tale about the difficulties of creating a marijuana marketplace. The legalization law, which was passed with the support of groups like, Regulation Responsable, a broad coalition that backed the measure, permitted Uruguayans who had registered with the government to purchase weed in capped quantities in one of 3 ways: cultivating it at home, joining cannabis clubs in which members grew it in a collective garden, or purchasing it from pharmacies. As of early 2016, however, pharmacy sales remain unavailable, leaving only the 6,000 Uruguayans who cultivate their own plants with legal access to the substance. Pharmacy sales always had been expected to be the most convenient and thus the most popular form of legal access in Uruguay. A 2015 study by the Latin American Marijuana Research Initiative found that more than 55% of respondents who were registered or intended to register with the government to purchase marijuana cited pharmacy sales as their preferred method for obtaining it. The government had estimated that up to 160,000 Uruguayans would gain access to marijuana through such pharmacy sales by early 2015. But now the government says mid-2016 is a more realistic target. But even that might prove overly ambitious. Regulators are still tackling the basics, from price controls to administrative decisions about whether pharmacies will be compelled or merely permitted to sell marijuana. The landscape for investing isn't blossoming either. In an interview with Foreign Policy in February, Milton Romani Gerner, the Secretary General of Uruguay's National Drug Board, insisted that investors are eager to get into the cannabis market as more than 20 companies have applied for permits. But so far, only 2 have successfully obtained permits to grow and distribute regulated cannabis to pharmacies. And neither has yet to distribute a single ounce. Not a single one. Meanwhile, the country's black market remains as vibrant as ever. Some analysts believe Uruguayans are buying illegal marijuana weed sold outside the 3 permitted venues at higher rates than before legalization. So what's gone wrong? The biggest factor has been the government's excessive caution, which has made it impossible for the law to be implemented as intended. That's due to, in part, in changing the government's leadership. The law was passed in 2013 under then-President Jose Mujica, who was known for being more liberal and less risk-tolerant than his successor, Tabaré Vázquez, who was elected in October of 2014. Although a member of the same coalition that supported the bill, Vázquez frequently urged caution about legalization while on the campaign trail. Only after his election did he announce that he would implement the law to the letter. Romani said the government is very aware that the country's legalization experiment has made it the object of special scrutiny. One wrong move could boost the skeptics, of whom there are many, Romani explained, not just internationally, but also at home. A 2014 America's Barometer survey by the Latin American Public Opinion Project found that 42% of Uruguayans thought the general situation of the country would worsen as a result of regulation. A mere 19% believed that the situation would improve. Quote, We're doing something completely new for our country and the entire world, Romani says. Quote, it's up to our model to overcome prohibitionist attitudes from various agendas, agencies, institutions, and general mentalities that do not accept change. According to the America's Barometer survey, almost 38% of Uruguayans believed that the law would have a positive impact on the fight against drug cartels. But to assuage those Uruguayans who believe that legalization might enrich those criminals, the government maintains a stringent vetting process for potential investors, which includes obtaining and verifying the financial records of each bidder. Regulators claim the efforts have paid off. In October of 2015, Uruguay's anti-money laundering agency found evidence of, quote, dubious, end quote, sources of income from at least one of the applicants. An unintended consequence of the government's stringency, however, seems to have been an expansion of the country's black market in drugs. In 2015, the General Directorate for the Repression of Illicit Drug Trafficking seized a high record of 5,558 pounds of illegal marijuana, nearly double the amount from 2014, and even exceeding the 2013 pre-legalization national record of 4,824 pounds. By comparison, seizure of cocaine and coca paste have significantly decreased since 2013 and have fallen far behind marijuana in total seizure amounts. Mid-February, the 2 companies that have received permits to grow marijuana planted their first crop. Those planted seeds should produce the evidence of whether pharmacy sales can make a dent in the illegal market. Quoting now, to shrink the black market, the legal market needs to be convenient enough to attract users, explained John Walsh, a senior executive associate at the Washington Office on Latin America, who worked with the Uruguayan government on the legalization of the legislation. Quoting, after all, there's already a vibrant commercial market, the illegal one, and forms of legal access will need to undercut it. Think about that. The government continues to urge patience for its novel feat. Considering its size, resources, and the novelty of the task it faces, Uruguay has indeed accomplished a lot. When asked about the credibility of the state's deadlines, Romani's best defense is a reminder of what came before the ongoing legalization effort. Quoting now, we are providing evidence for something that doesn't yet exist, end quote, he said. But it's in our favor. We have the painful and overwhelming evidence of prohibitionist policies being a total failure of an absurd war. So even though they're struggling with the idea of how do we do this? What is the best way? How do we achieve our goals here? How do we not have unintended consequences? Is it risky? I would say it's highly risky, but only for the prohibitionists. For only the prohibitionists are going to lose in this. The black market wins for now as the legal market struggles to come up with methods and means and ways. And eventually the black market will turn to something else as this one is made legal. Look, all drugs now are legal in Uruguay. I don't know about buying them in pharmacies. But you're not going to find anybody in Uruguay. Is it Uruguay? Yeah. You're not going to find anybody in Uruguay going to jail about cannabis. And if they're doing harder drugs, they're not going to jail about that either. In fact, they're being incentivized to get treatment, and then the government is subsidizing some of those people getting back involved into the job market by 50%. That's how you do it.
The Full Melt Show is a production of TFM Media.